what we've noticed over the last couple of years is, trends where people are relating to our business more and more by what we do and how, if we get out in front of it, people will follow. So we've noticed, particularly on our sponsor side, that we're seeing more and more of a spend on cause-related things that relate to people, things that really hit the emotional side for our sponsors and us together to go out and do goodwill. So pretty much most of our larger deals with sponsors now have a cause element to it. And we're finding that the CSR space, corporate social responsibility, is becoming a mainstay at the table of business as it relates to a lot of our partners. And I think this will continue to be an area, if we can do it well, we'll continue to see an increase in this area, because what we're finding is people want to know that the organizations they are doing business with are responsible, that they have a cause they can relate to, and that they're authentic and they are able to really communicate a value-oriented message. And that's a part of how we are going about doing things. How do we do it? Obviously top down. We try to incorporate our employees being a part of it and relating, and obviously the players, to the point where it's so important to us as a business. It's built into every player's contract. It's done in a way, obviously, that we want players to not have to look at their contract to say how many times I have to do this, but if they don't, it's there to remind them that it's part of their obligation if you're going to be a part of this business. And obviously, that's the approach. I'm trying to go through this quickly. Obviously, we're building partnerships as we go. And I want to not take up too much time, but I certainly wanted to share just some of this, and we can go through this a little bit later. But the takeaways is, obviously making it a part of your culture. Our players know that when you come to the NBA, you're going to be doing goodwill. There's no doubt about it. And if you can't get that from the start, you're going to have a hard time being part of our business. All right? We always are looking to get better at it. We try to build it collectively with shared values with our players, our teams, and partners. And then, we're going to measure it and we're going to make sure it works. And if it doesn't, we start back at the top.
I'm sure most of the people here know about solar panels, recycling water, and those kind of things, but this is more about how sustainability elements can help you build infrastructure. The stadium itself, for the few that weren't here, the south stand includes 5 metre in a ring of solar panels, which generates about 20% of the estimated annual energy use at the stadium. And it was the solar panels that was the catalyst to obtain the funding for the last $80 million to complete the south stand. And so what I'm sort of trying to impress on you, it's kind of more than the right thing to do. I mean, if you're looking for funding in any sport, for any infrastructure project or in any other business, you shouldn't forget about the power of ESDL elements to gain yourself that little bit of extra funding, get yourself across the line. So at the end of the day, 40% of the stadium's funding came from parties who were particularly interested in the ESD elements of the stadium. So that was the Office of Clean Energy. They put in millions of dollars, as did the Gold Coast City Council, and about $7 million of the $18 million additional funding came from those two organisations. So you can see the power that kind of idea had.
We're pretty lucky in Cleveland. We have a great partnership with the United States Environmental Protection Agency and the Ohio EPA. We're the second city in the nation to have something called green venues. So we have Cleveland green venues. What we do is all the public assembly venues in the city, that is us, the Cleveland Browns, Cleveland Cavaliers, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Cleveland Museum of Art, universities, Great Lakes Science Center. I go on and on and on. You have no idea what I'm talking about, but anything that, where there is public assembly, we meet quarterly, sponsored by the EPA, to share what we're doing, to share our best practices, see what has worked, what hasn't worked. It's been extremely valuable to us. We can do a few things with this. One, we can really see where the market is going. So So we found out from this that composting organic waste is viable. Before this group, we didn't know it was there. Out of this group, an RFP, request for proposal, one or two composting facilities in the area went out and said, all right, if you can compost for us, we got 13 venues who will be happy to give you their food waste. Let's make a route, let's get this happening. It's happened. Well, our compost facilities up right outside the city are at capacity, and they're turning people away. So the power that we have by just getting together 4 times a year is incredible. And we're saying, I can't tell you how many times we're saving from going to landfill, just from, and this is just one little example from this group. I think a lot of the sustainability, you got to sustain your business, right? The Cleveland Indians have been around since 1901. We're one of the oldest companies in the city. We need to retain people. We need to get the best employees in there. Insurance in the States is incredible. I pay a lot of money out of my own pocket, subsidized by the Indies a little bit, for insurance for my wife and I. So we need to get our staff healthier. So by these other relationships with Cleveland Cavaliers, when we're trying to get one with the Cleveland Browns, through the operations department, we actually go over to the Quicken Loans Arena as a front office and have a round-robin basketball tournament on the NBA floor. I think that's something neat that employees will never get to, rarely get to do. How many people in this room can say you've played on the same floor that Jordan's played on or LeBron? Not many. Maybe 2 of us, but it's benefits like that that not only sustain your company to get the best employees, get fit employees to keep your insurance rates down, but it gets people to want to work for you and with you and move your cause. We're trying to get some football tournaments done at Cleveland Browns Stadium, so that'll be neat as well. And we reciprocate. The Cavs have a softball tournament on our field. We also have a softball tournament at the end of the year where we play each other and then play the Cavs in a round-robin tournament with plenty of beer, and it's a good time. But it's those little things that I think a lot of the sports teams have the opportunity to make your place a more attractive area to work. You got to just be smart about it and use them.
I guess from a council point of view, and obviously being employed by the City of Greater Geelong, it is a very different approach to, say, the NBA, the AFL, and some of the other stadiums alike. But we are in a position where we own and operate the stadium, but that means that our communication to our stakeholders has to be of high priority. Not only with Simonds Stadium, but also with the 3 other stadiums that I look after. And I think the focus of this will be really to talk about the WasteWise program that was integrated in 2007. Realistically, the WasteWise is a reduce, reuse, recycle program. How many have actually heard of the program? 1, 2, maybe 4. So it was obviously developed and initiated into Simonds Stadium 2007. Through that, we had to make sure that there was an education process there, not only for our main tenant, being the Geelong Football Club, but also the other key tenants of Sports House. So we've got tenants in there, Leisure Networks, Australian Sports Commission, Football Federation Victoria, and Barwon Sports Academy. So we needed to make sure that we had an encompassing education process and program for our key tenants. We also had to consider our contractors. Now, these guys are obviously on site on a daily basis. They do carry with them waste, and we needed to educate them in the process that we were going to follow as a stadium to make sure that we were a greener and wiser sort of stadium in that respect. Participants, obviously, the footballers, they're in their respective areas. They'll be educated by the key tenant being the Geelong Football Club. But we've got other participants using the facility, being local football associations running finals out of the facility, and obviously visitors to the stadium such as Nitro Circus. So the key for their being participants was any venue hire that we got in, we made sure that our waste wires was written into their venue hire agreement. So we were educating them through a minimum expectation and the minimum standards written into their venue hire agreements. It was important for us as a part of the education process with the community and our spectators to have a key environmental champion. Now, in the like of Simonds Stadium Geelong Football Club, it was Matthew Scarlett at the time. So he became our forefront of obviously that Waste Wise program at Simonds. At the Geelong Arena, we had Geelong Supercats players. So key role models for particularly children and also adults, but more so the children, to try and really integrate that message to them. So through the education, we made sure that we had posters of the players and athletes around the stadium, and they're still on the walls to this day. And we made sure that the press releases supported and the messages went out through the Geelong Advertiser, local media forums, and we had that sort of support. It's also about creating an ownership over the issue. So we knew that we had to be at the forefront from a stadium perspective, and also from the 3 smaller venues, to make sure that we were a leader, obviously, in Geelong for the other venues, and hopefully a leader, obviously, within the AFL and other major sports as a stadium to pick up this Waste Wise initiative.
Is that we really try to, focus our sort of message around sustainability with the waste side. I mean, obviously that's our core business. We do consulting on other sustainability impact areas like energy and water, wastewater, obviously, but we really try to focus all of our messaging around the tournament, and then the fan engagement piece and the takeaway is around waste reduction. And so what we did last year as a progression in our 3rd year of the tournament is we implemented what we call the Zero Waste Challenge. And essentially what we did is that we became probably, I don't know this for a fact, but I would be willing to bet that we're the largest event to ever eliminate waste receptacles. So last year was the first year we tried that. We, essentially, we only had recycling bins and compost bins. And so the only way to really do that successfully is to really work with all of your vendors and the supply chain of that tournament so you can control what's coming in. And so, that was a multi-year process. It involves a lot of different stakeholders, a lot of different community groups. There's, I think, 5 or 6 different food vendors that work in the tournament, between hospitality and concessions and things like that. It has a pretty big footprint, so you have to work in all those with all those stakeholders in order for it to be successful. You can only be as successful in your particular market depending on what infrastructure is available. It really is a top-down initiative. If it's not, you can grow things from a grassroots level, which I think is good. But unless you have it sort of buy-in at the executive leadership level of your company, it's really challenging to do it. And we have it in our senior leadership team, so that really helps us a lot.
From an opinion standpoint, you can say why sports should be involved because it's a highly influential and highly popular entertainment vehicle.
I believe we need to be involved with it, because ballpark stadiums are massive consumers. If you think about what comes into the ballpark, every industry is represented. We use wood in bats, plastic batting helmets, nylon uniforms, food. Who knows what's in a hot dog, but we sell it. And because we consume so much and take so much, that we want to have the least amount of waste as possible. I think it only makes good business sense and good environmental sense too. It's just mind-boggling how much stuff just comes into a stadium, whether you want it or not. We get a lot of unsolicited materials, whether it's magazines, junk mail, you name it. We get all kinds of things. We get stuff coming in wooden crates, on pallets upon pallets. I think we recycle about 20 tons of wooden pallets every year. It's a lot of wood. So because we do take in so much, we want to have that end product and be as little impactful negatively on the environment as possible. So we reuse things. We have Indians team stores around the greater Cleveland area. What they do is, instead of taking the cardboard boxes down to the baler to get them recycled, they will reuse boxes. So you may get an Indians t-shirt at a store as a store manager that came in a box that French fries originally came in. So, it's being smarter about what we're doing, and using our resources that are already there is helping us out.